Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, appraisers, home inspectors, commercial real estate lenders, and above all else, a large number of realtors. Realtors are the people that are on the ground and know what is happening out there in the real estate community. So I have a great first-time guest today, Justin Dolan. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, John.
And Justin is a realtor with William Ravies Real Estate.
Yes, William Ravies, yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you tell our viewers, Justin, how you ended up as a realtor?
Yeah, so how I kind of got into this role was because I actually was in the remodeling part of the housing industry with my father's company, which is John Dolan Kitchen and Bath.
Okay.
Been in business for just over 60 years now.
Wow.
And I had a health issue, and I was kind of driven to go more into sales, and that's what forced me kind of into just a different part of the housing industry.
Right.
And made me want to become a realtor.
Yeah. How have you enjoyed it?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's a job where it's of service. And I love that I feel like I get to help people achieve their goals within real estate. So that's kind of why I really love this job.
And a lot of people recognize the name of your overall company. Why don't you explain a little bit about them?
Definitely. William Ravies, the one thing I love about them is that they're family oriented. And just like my father's business is still a family run business to this day. You know, we're also spread out within all of Massachusetts, over 50 offices, but then we're also up in all over New England, going south into the Carolinas and all over Florida. And I've been able to build relationships throughout the states where now I can help people be or move within a large part of the country.
Great. Yeah, so we've seen at the registry in our recordings, you know, due to low inventory, the higher interest rates than previous, and just people aren't ready to make a move yet, a slowdown in the real estate market. Have you seen the same thing from the last couple of years?
Now, it's definitely slowing down regarding inventory with people who want to sell their home. But right now, going into March, I feel like we have an early spring market that's really come on.
Great.
And we've had a lot of bidding wars recently, too. Even, you know, someone in my office by the name of Colleen Polilio, she had 16 offers.
Wow.
On a home in Stoughton. And it just really kind of started to show us, like, there are buyers out there, but there's still not enough sellers and not enough homes on the market.
Yeah. So if you were approached by a potential seller today, what kind of advice would you give them to get ready to sell a property?
Ooh, the best advice I would give them is that don't just stick the sign in the ground. Let's really go through your home and make sure that any issues that could arise during a home inspection are taken care of. That if staging needs to be done, let's do the staging. And if anything needs to be repainted, maybe we do that. And just go through the home with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that if you're gonna try to even sell on your own, maybe bring a real estate agent that's a professional in to talk about what we do and how we really bring in the right buyers, and so that we can possibly either go into a bidding war or sell at a premium price.
Okay. And the same thing, if somebody were to come, that was a potential buyer, and call you up and say, look, can we get together? What kind of advice would you give them?
The one piece of advice that I will give them, because I know right now the biggest fear is the interest rate. But the one thing that has always stayed true is, when do you want to start building wealth? Because the longer you rent, the more you're letting someone else build wealth. But if you start today and you buy something, you can start building your own wealth.
I've heard a couple of realtors say this colloquial thing, date the rate, marry the house.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because even what I'm hearing going into later this year is that rates should be in the high fives. And if you could buy today and then refinance later this year and be down a point or point and a half, you would have gotten a discount compared to buying later this year when the rates are lower.
I remember many years ago, long before I was doing this job, the rates were as high as 18 and people had to deal with it.
Right, and I had so many. I've talked to a lot of my aunts that have been around a lot longer than I have, and they're like, Justin, we used to buy houses at 14%, 12% interest rates. So like now these like 5%,
And
6%.
refi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's super interesting.
Yeah. So let's talk about first-time home buyers. I very much feel bad for young people. They're renting. In some cases, they expect they'll rent forever because they're losing, very frustrated with the current marketplace, and know that if they bought a home, it would benefit them, with the tax write-offs and stability and all that. What do you tell a first-time home buyer that comes in to see you?
So the first thing I like to do is have a meeting with them, because it can seem like it's an unachievable task right now. But I like to bring them in and also have them talk to some of my great resources, because sometimes it just comes down to whether it's going into the right type of loan program for you so that it can be more achievable with a lower down payment program, or with these rate buy down programs so that the payment is more doable for the first few years. So it's just a matter of getting them in a meeting with a professional like myself, and also getting them with the right resources so that even if they can't buy a home today, that we can build a plan with the mortgage broker and myself for them to make that achievable within the near future.
So you mentioned that one of your colleagues had 16 bidders at one home, and that means one person wins, they get the home, and 15 people get turned away. And how do you deal with trying to keep people to stay with it with all those different rejections?
The one thing that I do when I have a meeting with a lot of my buyers is, especially in the market that we're in, is to kind of tell them, hey, we're going to get into a few situations and we're going to be in some bidding wars. And you might lose one or two, maybe even three of these before we get in the right one. But you always got to give it a shot. Because if we don't swing the bat, you don't know if you'll get it. So we just got to keep trying. But it's usually sometimes we get it on the first time. The other thing I like to mention too, with regards to bidding wars, is myself and a lot of my office deal with off-market properties. So sometimes just aligning yourself with the right real estate agent.
What is an off-market property?
So sometimes what happens is I'll go in and meet with a seller where they say, you know what, is there any chance that you know anybody or anyone in your office or of your pool of real estate agents that you know any buyers that would buy this, where we don't want to necessarily have an open house and go to the open market. And it does happen where I have a house in Canton actually under contract right now where that had come together. And if you're aligned with the right agent who deals with off-market properties, sometimes you can get into a property without even having to deal with a bidding war. So it can be really great if you just align yourself with an agent that knows about off-market properties and has a big pool of agents and has built local relationships over their career.
So let's talk, this is being taped right before St. Patrick's Day in March. Coming up to the real spring market, April and May, what are you seeing going forward?
The one thing that I see moving forward is it's going to be a busy spring market. Maybe one of the busiest we've seen since 2022. And I say that just due to the fact with how many bidding wars I'm dealing with, going into it with my own buyers and hearing it from the other listings that we have within my office. So I think going into later this year, my hope is that the trajectory is correct with regards to interest rates coming down a little bit and it becoming more affordable for the buyers and bringing hopefully more sellers into the market because they're seeing the rates come down too.
I am fascinated by the change in technology over the years in how you folks do your business. It used to be you'd have a page book of papers of the documents. Now people become much more educated because so much is already available online for them to look at before they come to you. That's one side of the technology. And the other side of it is just how fast things move in your trade without even having a piece of paper.
It's so true. There is, it's kind of this crazy thing now where I can basically go into, some of my systems, set everything up for someone to electronically signature and send it over to the buyer of mine where they electronically sign within 5 minutes and they could be a new homeowner.
Right.
It's happening so much faster now
Right.
than ever before. And the other thing that I will say, and me being at 24 years old, I grew up with social media.
Right.
So I've kind of had to now be like, how do I utilize this as a useful tool so that I can not only educate clients, but so that I can also grow my business.
Yeah.
So I'm able to help my clients by educating them, but also market their properties for sale within my social media as well.
So let's talk about what your role is. Once you meet somebody as a buyer, and then it goes through hopefully a home inspection and all the way to closing.
So the one thing that I always tell my buyers is this isn't just me trying to find the right house for you. What I'm giving you is my resources. So on top of, yes, we're going to find you the right property, but it's also how do we write that offer? And then once we write the offer, get it accepted, now comes where I really get to shine. And I'm able to hand you all the resources we need, whether it comes down to first the home inspector, and then if any issues arise, I have a pool of resources, whether it's my father's plumbing, electrical, interior modeling company, a roofer, the mold guy, like tons of people, so that if any home inspection issues come up, we can get them resolved pretty quickly.
So in a later segment of my show, I talk about some of our colony and county history. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about today is one of the first purchase and sales agreement in America from 1632. And the agreement, to have an agreement and then acquire the property at a later date. Same idea as a purchase and sales agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like what the offer almost has done now.
Right.
As we now have like that offer first compared to jumping to the purchase
People have to be a lot more careful with the offer now than they used to.
I agree. There's definitely parts of the offer that I feel like need to be more explained to buyers.
Yeah.
And I usually like to sit down and go through the whole offer with them or over the phone and just explain each piece. And it's not just explaining it, it's also saying, hey, there's options here that we can add in. Certain verbiage that I've spoke to my attorneys about to make the offer more competitive, but also where the buyer feels safe and secure still.
So why don't we kind of end with your positive approach to what we're going to be doing in the spring market?
My positive approach going into this spring market is really going to be talking to as many buyers as I can, because it is possible to get home ownership and make that happen. And for sellers, you guys are in the best position that you could be in right now. And it's time to either start building your wealth or cash in on that wealth that you already have.
And would a Justin Dolan like to tell our viewers happy St. Patrick's Day?
Absolutely. I hope everyone has an amazing St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to try to enjoy it myself a little bit. I know I'll be working in between because us realtors are always working on the weekends.
Right.
But I'm sure I'll try to enjoy it for sure.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks,
You did a
John.
great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.